this hour. Fathers and brothers murdering daughters and sisters.
He said, I believe in my heart I did the right thing.
Killers with a twisted sense of honor and shame.
They from Pakistan, they're not speaking English to me, they're not telling me nothing.
Did their faith also lead them to kill?
The reason he's giving is that you were a bad Muslim girl.
A crime with roots in tribal lands. And now it's come here.
Is there any doubt in your mind that these were honor killings?
None at all.
Murder in the family. Honor killing in America. Reporting from New York, here's Megan Kelly.
Honor. It is an ancient concept that has come to mean different things in different cultures. It has long played a part in American life. The Declaration of Independence concludes with the founders pledging to each other their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor. And to this day, the motto at West Point is duty, honor, country. For most Americans, honor has evolved into a personal code of patriotism, honesty, fair play, respect for others. But in parts of the world like Pakistan, Afghanistan, and many areas of the Middle East, some people see honor a bit differently. The concept there is less individual than tribal, and it sometimes leads husbands, fathers, and brothers to murder wives, daughters, and sisters for offenses like immodesty or refusing an arranged marriage. For in this kind of honor, a woman's life is worth far less than a man's sense of shame. The United Nations estimates that as many as 5,000 women are murdered in such honor killings each year. Tonight, you will see that this crime has come to America, and we are just beginning to grapple with how to confront it. We begin with a shocking recent case from Atlanta. Here's Jamie Colby.
County 911.
Somebody died.
Somebody what?
Died.
You're listening to the voice of 57-year-old Chowdhury Rashid.
What happened on Utah Drive?
Somebody died.
Somebody died. Sir, who's dead?
That somebody was Rashid's 25-year-old daughter, Sandila. Up until this 911 call just 3 weeks ago, Rashid seemed to be living an American immigrant success story. Chowdhury was born in Gujarat, Pakistan. After his wife died in childbirth, he came to America in 1990. 11 years later, the 2 girls and 2 boys he had to leave behind with relatives joined him in Atlanta. He had opened his own pizza parlor, and they worked with him. He married an American woman named Gina. They all settled into this middle-class neighborhood in Jonesboro.
We were generally greeting each other with a hello, how are you, a smile, a wave.
Veranda Luckett has lived down the street from the Rashid family for 3 years.
Ever see the police there before?
Never.
Ever hear about any arguments?
No.
Detective Michael Christian of the Clayton County Police Department calls the Rashids very religious.
What do you know about the father's religious practices?
He was a very devout Muslim. I know that he prayed all 5 times during the day.
So how did this immigrant success story take a bizarre and violent turn? Some believe that what happened in this 6-bedroom colonial was an extreme variation on a theme as old as humanity itself, about a family that ventures off to a new world but can't let go of their old ways. Then again, as you'll see, others believe the crime committed here is just the latest warning of a new and dangerous ideology in America, radical Islam. Either way, there seems little doubt that Rashid's inability to assimilate left behind a corpse.
Clayton County 911.
Yes, could you please send some cops? Sandila's dead. Sandila's dead.
The seeds of this tragedy were planted in 2002. That's when Rashid took Sandila, now called Sandy by her American friends, back to Pakistan's Punjab province for an arranged marriage to one of her cousins. Sandy had to leave her new husband in Pakistan because he couldn't get permission to enter the U.S. And a source close to Sandy told us it wasn't until April 2008, almost 6 years after their wedding day, when the couple finally reunited in Georgia. By that time, Sandy had changed.
She'd acclimated to life in America. She was just a modern American woman.
Sandy kicked her husband out of the house. He left for Chicago. She hired a divorce lawyer. Her father, angry, fired her from the pizza place. So she got her own job at Walmart.
She had wanted a divorce, and her father was against it because he did not believe in divorce. She had recently told coworkers that she thought things were getting better around the house and that she thought everything would be okay.
So Tuesday, July 1st, Sandy filed for divorce. That really pushed Rashid over the edge, says Malik Shahid of the Pakistan American Society of Atlanta. He met with the family the day after Sandy was killed.
He said, I'm very depressed and I'm very upset.
On Saturday night, July 5th, Rashid picked Sandy up from work at Walmart.
There was some kind of argument, very strong argument. And after that, when he came home, and then he became more aggressive.
At the house, everyone was asleep. Detective Christian says Rashid prepared to strangle his daughter with a bungee cord he kept in his trunk.
He had taken a bungee cord out of the car, actually put it in his pocket so Sandy would not see the bungee cord.
Police say Sandy went to her bedroom above the garage. Her dad followed.
He strangled her, killed her. Then he'd gone down to the garage, burned the bungee cord, and then flushed it down the toilet.
Rashid then woke up one of his sons
and told him, your sister is dead, at which point he went and checked on Sandy, could not revive her, went and woke the other brother. Basically the whole house awakened.
Including Gina Rashid, Sandy's American stepmother, who drove down the street and made the first call to 911.
I woke up, I heard a lot of hollering and screaming, and I just woke up, and I asked my family what's going on. They from Pakistan, they're not speaking English to me, they're not telling me nothing. Please send someone, please. Okay.
It was minutes later that Rashid made his own call, the one we told you about earlier.
What happened on Utah Drive?
Somebody died.
Somebody died.
When officers arrived, they found Mr. Rashid. He was seated on the ground smoking. He was wearing a black and gold prayer hat of some type. He was barefoot, had been chain smoking.
He would only repeat what he'd said to 911, my daughter is dead. But Christian says he confessed to killing her later at the police station.
He told us that he had killed his daughter, that he did not want the family dishonored by a divorce.
Rashid, who's been charged with murder, also said he is a Muslim and that divorce and extramarital affairs are against his religion and would disgrace the family. And that's why he killed his daughter.
He said, I know that I will have to go to prison, but I believe in my heart I did the right thing.
An honor killing and nothing more.
I have no reason to even suspect anything else.
But Malik and his group stressed that despite what Rashid said about his religion, Islam was not to blame.
There's personal, his sickness, or his depression, or his family problem, his aggressiveness, or anything he did to personal. This is not related with the Muslims or not related with the Islam.
As you will see tonight, the question of what impels men to kill for honor is becoming as urgent to confront as the crime itself, because this was not the first honor killing in America, not even close.
Coming up, an honor killing in St. Louis that was actually recorded on an FBI wiretap. You will hear that tape. And later in Rochester, New York, police say a brother stabbed his sister 11 times for being a bad Muslim girl. She survived and tells her story exclusively to Fox. But first, a New Year's car ride with their father ends in the murder of two teenage sisters just outside of Dallas. After the break. According to a recent Pew Research Center poll, more than 1/4 of Muslims in America think Muslim immigrants should not follow the American way of life, but should try instead to remain distinct. But try telling that to their children. Here's Greg Jarrett reporting from Texas.
Both of the girls were gorgeous girls. So modest and so sweet and laughing, always smiling and laughing.
Harvey 911, what is your emergency? What's going on, ma'am?
I'm dying, that's what's up. Oh my God.
The short lives and violent deaths of teenage sisters Amina and Sarah Saeed, like so many tragic tales, begins with an improbable love story. Their parents' story 2 decades ago. At the time, their mother, Tissy Owens, lived with her family just outside Dallas in this apartment complex across from this convenience store that has since shut down. She was only 15 years old, but Tissy took a liking to a man almost twice her age, an Egyptian immigrant, Yasser Saeed, who worked at the store.
She became engaged to Yasser very quickly?
Yes.
How quickly?
Within 2 weeks.
Connie Maggio is one of Tissy's 2 sisters.
Did you think it was strange that he was so much older and Muslim?
I thought it was okay. I mean, my mom and dad brought us up, you know, not to be, you know, racist or look at somebody because how they talk. So I didn't find it strange at all, you know, except for her getting married. I mean, she got married so young.
When you heard that Tissy was getting married at the age of 15, what did you think?
I wondered why my brother would let his 15-year-old daughter get married.
Joyce Boucher is Tissy's aunt.
But, you know, then I was told, you know, well, he has a lot of money, he has land in Egypt, and it was kind of like she was going to be some kind of little queen or something.
Was any of that true, the land ownership?
No, it wasn't true. He worked at a 7-Eleven, you know. Couldn't own too much working at 7-Eleven.
The wedding was just a regular Christian wedding.
Gail Gartrell is another of Tissy's aunts.
The reception?
The reception was not. The reception was strange. The Muslim women were all in the kitchen preparing foods, including Tissy. And all the men are sitting in this one back room on the floor with their backs up against the wall, and all the food's in there.
The newlyweds quickly started a family, which would straddle both Christian and Muslim traditions. First came a son. They named him Islam.
Well, she got pregnant right away with the Islam, and, you know, that was a big deal because it was a boy.
A year later, Tissy had a girl, Amina, and another girl the year after that, Sarah. But all was not right in this family.
Early on in the marriage, Tissy showed you some pictures. Can you describe those?
Yasser was dressed up like jihad and had a knife, holding it to Tissy's throat.
As if he was going to behead her?
Yeah, to cut her head off.
What did you think?
I thought, you know, what goes on behind closed doors.
And behind closed doors, Tissy's younger sister Connie says she was assaulted by Yasser.
He got up and come in the living room and he grabbed me around my breast and pulled me toward his lap, and I'm like, you know, no, leave me alone. And he said, no, it's okay, and tried it again. And so I went to my aunt's house, and I'm very terrified of what just happened. You know, I'm only, you know, 15, 16 years old. My younger sister, she was in the bathroom, and I asked her, I said, has Yasser ever touched you in a way that, you know, you're not comfortable? And that's when she started crying, and she told me, you know, that yes, he had.
What was the family's reaction?
My mom was horrified. I mean, she was just, you know, please don't tell your dad, he will kill Yasser. You know, I mean, my mom was just, was scared, so it never was reported to the police or anything.
The tales of abuse would get even more serious. When Amina and Sarah were 8 and 7 years old, Tissy, in court papers, accused Yasser of raping them. Tissy and the girls left, but eventually returned with Tissy saying she made up the charges.
Why do you think, in the end, she went back to him?
I think that she was scared. We didn't have a lot of money to just get up and move somewhere else.
Whatever went on inside the Saeed home, outwardly, Sarah and Amina grew up to be the kind of all-American teenage girls that would make most any Texas parent proud. Good athletes, excellent students, and popular. And that, their American family says, would ultimately get them murdered.
We'll have more from Greg Jarrett in Texas when Murder in the Family, Honor Killing in America continues. Back now to the stories of teenagers Amina and Sarah Saeed. Their mother, Tissy, is a native Texan. Their father, Yasser, is an Egyptian immigrant who married Tissy when she was just 15 years old. It was a troubled household right from the very start, and things got more explosive as the girls became all-American teenagers their father could not control. Here again is Greg Jarrett.
Amina and Sarah Saeed were delightful girls. Beautiful, smart, friendly, and popular. Boys inevitably took an interest in them, and vice versa. That did not sit well with their father, says Gail Gartrell, one of the girls' great aunts.
Amina had a little boyfriend when she was younger, maybe junior high or 9th grade. And Yasser found out about this boyfriend, and he kicked her in the face.
Even still, the girl's mother, Tissy, who'd married Yasser when she was just 15, would help them bend his rules, says Tissy's sister, Connie Maggio.
They were not allowed to date Americans, and my sister let them do what teenage girls do.
She let them date the boyfriends.
Right. Behind Yasser's back. She
Why?
knew. She knows that's not right. Those girls should have their choice.
But Gail Gartrell says she heard that when Yasser found out about the boyfriends, he threatened to kill his girls.
He had a gun, and he was waving the gun around. And he said, I'll take you to Egypt where this is legal.
Where what is legal?
Honor killing. To kill you.
Gartrell says Yasser did take Amina to Egypt for another reason.
Her dad was trying to marry her off to like a 40-year-old man.
She was 16.
She was 16. And Amina told her mother, she said, I want to come home. I never want to return to Egypt again.
In the fall of 2007, Amina entered her senior year in high school, Sarah her junior. Both had boyfriends on the sly. And according to Maggio and Gartrell, their brother Islam spied on them for their increasingly agitated father. By Christmas, Tissy was worried that Yasser might actually make good on his threats to harm the girls. And once again, she took them away, driving to a relative's place in Kansas, then to Oklahoma. Yasser, who was now driving a cab for a living, reached out to Tissy's sister, Connie.
Yasser contacted me and said, you know, please, Connie, don't take sides this time. Me and Tissy worked hard to get this house, and I'm a taxi cab driver, and you know, all I want is Tissy to come back and the girls, and if stuff don't work out, then I'll leave and they can have the house. I mean, he sounded really sincere.
You believed him?
I did.
Joyce Boucher says it was Islam who eventually convinced his mother to return home. It was New Year's Eve.
What have you been able to learn about what happened on that terrible night? They feared their father, and yet they ended up in his taxi cab. How did that happen?
Well, you know, he controlled them, so if he could talk to them, they were going to do what he told them to do. When they came back from Oklahoma and all, Sarah went back home with her mom. So he had Sarah there at the house. Amina stayed at her boyfriend's. The next day, the way I understand it, Islam kept calling over there, trying to get Amina to come back. We're going to all go have dinner New Year's Day. And Amina said, I would rather be dead than to go back home. I am not going back home. And then Tissy went over and got her. And when she got Amina back to the house, Yasser was already in the taxi, already had Sarah in the taxi. And Amina got out of Tissy's car, got in the taxi, they took off.
The police theory of the case is that Yasser drove them 14 miles to the Las Colinas area of Texas near the Omni Mandalay Hotel. He parked where no one could see or hear. Then he pulled out a gun and started firing. Somehow, Sarah managed to dial 911.
Harvey 911, what is your emergency? What's going on, ma'am?
I'm dying, oh my God.
Ma'am, are you still there? Ma'am, are you still there?
It's very hard to listen to type of call.
David Tull, the public information officer of the Irving Police Department, says that by triangulating the signal from the cell towers closest to Sarah's phone, they got an approximate location, but not X marks the spot.
We got within, as it turned out, within about a quarter to a half a mile of their actual location.
Police combed the area. Tissy was taken to the police station. Word about Sarah's 911 call got to Connie.
I'm not thinking, okay, you know, Yesser's murdering my niece. I'm thinking that Yesser is, you know, beating her up.
Connie called Tissy.
The first words out of my mouth was, damn it, Tissy. And then I said, where is Amina? She said she's with them. And I said it again, damn it, Tissy. And of course, you know, I'm terrified that my nieces are being tortured. Then my husband just jumps out of bed. He said, get dressed, let's go.
While she drove to the police station, cops finally found Yasser's cab, parked at a taxi stand near the Omni Mandalay Hotel.
The Irving police detective called and he said, well, I hate to inform you, but both girls are deceased.
When I walked in, Tissy just looked at me and she said, he killed my girls. And I said, I know, and we both cried.
Did she tell you why he killed them?
Because they were dating these boyfriends, and Yesser had found out about it and was mad about it.
Yasser, police say, shot his 18-year-old daughter Amina twice and riddled 17-year-old Sarah with 9 bullets as she was calling 911. And then Yasser Saeed vanished. How could he escape without help? And where could he go?
Coming up, in search of Yasser Saeed.
Do you know where your brother is?
Get the out of here.
But first, she recently survived what police say was an attempted honor killing. Her brother stabbing her 11 times. Stay tuned for her incredible story. Next. Welcome back to our Fox News investigation, Murder in the Family, Honor Killings in America. St. Louis, Missouri. At the Circuit Attorney's Office, there's a storage area full of evidence of an honor killing that took place nearly 20 years ago. Crime scene photos, bloodied clothes, the 9-inch knife used, and an old-fashioned reel-to-reel tape. Parents murdering their own 16-year-old daughter. And unbeknownst to them, their crime recorded from beginning to end on a hidden microphone placed in their apartment by the FBI. The feds were investigating the father, Zain Issa, a member of a Palestinian terror cell controlled by notorious terrorist Abu Nidal. Also living in the apartment, Issa's Brazilian wife, Maria, and the youngest of their 3 daughters, 16-year-old Palestina. Tina was a high school honor student, but her parents were furious that Tina had a black boyfriend. She went to a school dance and got a job at Wendy's. Tina's first night at work was the last night of her life. November 5th, 1989. The tape begins with an argument and Tina starts screaming. Her father says, "Keep still, Tina." Tina pleads, "Mother, please help me." Her mother responds, "Shut up." In fact, her mother was holding her down, Issa plunging a 9-inch kitchen knife into his daughter's chest. Tina continues screaming for several minutes, giving way finally to a quiet moan. Her father, exhausted, then utters these words, "Quiet, little one. Die, my daughter. Die." Issa's plan was to claim self-defense, that Tina attacked him first. The jury didn't buy it and sent both mom and dad to death row. But Tina's own sisters would later say she was a bad daughter who deserved to die.
I only cry for my parents. She was very disobedient. This is a girl that she always had everything she needed and wanted. She had loving parents, caring and loving parents. She had anything she always wanted.
Federal prosecutors would later allege an additional motive for the murder, The terror cell pressured Issa to kill Tina because they feared she would rat them out. That was never proven in court. But former CIA operative Mike Baker, who is now a counterterrorism specialist, says no one should be shocked when an honor killer turns out to be a terrorist, too.
Same person who can justify killing their daughter or killing their wife in an honor killing is probably, in all likelihood, carrying the same mindset that Al-Qaeda would look for in some young fellow or someone to go strap on a bomb and blow themselves up in a market.
Baker says not all Muslim men who commit honor killings are international terrorists. Obviously, they are not. But in recent years and even months, an alarming number of these crimes have been committed here in America by Muslims with a pretty radical mindset, at least when it comes to how women should be treated. So is there a connection between honor killings and the spread of Islamic extremism? Coming up, one victim's perspective. A 19-year-old Muslim woman who barely survived what police say was an attempted honor killing by her own brother. She tells her story right after the break. Welcome back. I'm Megyn Kelly. As you heard tonight, honor killing is happening around the world, and more it is hitting very close to home right here in America. You've heard Muslim leaders insist the crime violates Islam's tenets. In Rochester, New York, one Muslim man apparently did not get that message and brutally stabbed his 19-year-old sister. She survived and talked to Lauren Green. She asked us to hide her face because she fears she may be harmed again for telling her story of survival.
I was born in Afghanistan, raised in Pakistan, moved to America in 2002. So I basically grew up here.
Miriam, that's not her real name, is 19 years old, beautiful and smart. She speaks 4 languages. She describes herself as a devoted Muslim, but also typically American. And less than 2 months ago, she survived what sheriffs in Rochester, New York call an attempted honor killing. Miriam's mother moved with her and her sisters to America after Miriam's father died. Her brothers stayed and took over the family business in Pakistan. Within a few years, Miriam was more American than a product of her native Afghan culture. And that's what her brother Wahid discovered when he rejoined the family in 2005 near Rochester, New York.
Did you feel any tension with your family because you were adapting to an American culture?
Oh, definitely, yeah, definitely.
How so?
For example, going to the movies or like going shopping to the mall with my girlfriends.
So when you would try to go to the mall or do that kind of thing,
yeah,
what would
or
happen?
even work, or even go to find a job. It was a problem for them because they always told me that, well, you don't need to work, you're too young, just concentrate on your studies.
But Miriam's studies got to be a problem, too. She won a full scholarship to a 4-year college, including room and board, on campus.
I thought that everybody's going to be happy for me. I'm just so excited. Everybody came home from work. I showed it to them. There was no smile on his face. He just looked at me. He goes, like, so? That doesn't mean anything.
And you had a full scholarship.
Exactly. If it was just a typical American teenage, the parents would have been like so proud of them. But when it came to my family and my brother, it was a shame instead of them being proud of me. Do you know what I mean?
A shame?
Yeah. To him it was.
Why would it be a shame? Your brother gets a full, or your sister gets a full scholarship to
Because he thought that if I moved on campus, people, Afghani community would talk about our family, how, oh my gosh, she's totally going to become like Americanized, she's going to forget about Afghani culture, she's going to be a different person, one day she's going to bring a shame to the family, you know.
She did go away to school, and though she wasn't too far from home, she was coming home less and less, and also feeling less and less comfortable when she was there.
When I was at home, like, oh my God, I have to be careful that my leg doesn't show, I have to be careful that, you know, I don't have low neck, you know, like stuff like that.
Miriam hopes one day to work at the United Nations, and last summer started visiting friends in New York City with dreams of moving there.
Now, New York is a big city,
And many mothers and brothers would worry about a teenage daughter or sister coming here alone. But in this case, it seems fair to say, the concern was not for Miriam's physical safety, but for the Mohammed family's honor. Sheriff's investigators say Mrs. Mohammed asked Wahid to stop Miriam from coming, and Wahid did just that.
Wahid, we believe, made it his mission to prevent this trip from occurring, and took it upon himself to take action.
And that action was what?
He stabbed her multiple times.
Sheriff's investigator Patrick Crow says Wahid confronted his sister about her New York trip in front of the family home.
Where on her body did he stab her?
All over.
All over.
All over.
When she was being stabbed, were there other family members around?
Yes.
Her mother was there, right?
Yes.
What was her mother doing?
I'm going to refrain from answering that due to the trial.
When he was actually, attacking you, what was going through your mind?
I seriously thought that I was gonna die.
Neighbors witnessing the attack called 911, but before the ambulance arrived, sources close to the investigation tell us, Wahid then told his sister he would take her to the hospital if she promised to say he didn't stab her. Wahid put Miriam in the car and took off, stopping along the way to toss the bloody knife into a pond. Sheriff's deputies caught up to them at this intersection just a few miles from the house. Wahid was detained while his fading sister was transferred into an ambulance.
Did Wahid ever tell you that his intention was to kill his sister?
Well, that's something I can't comment on now because the case is still pending. I will say it's my belief that he intended to kill her.
Could she have died from those stab wounds?
Absolutely.
He doesn't even have any real memory of it happening.
John Bradley is the attorney for Wahid Mohammed, who has pleaded not guilty. Bradley doesn't dispute that Wahid attacked his sister, but says Wahid just doesn't remember.
He can recount to me what happened right up until they were arguing, but best I can tell, he really doesn't have any memory of this actual incident happening.
Doesn't that sound like a convenient excuse? I just don't remember.
Well, not remembering is not an excuse under the law, but given his history and the things that he's gone through, it's not that far-fetched either.
Did he ever have any emotional, mental issues?
Nope, not at all.
He was just normal.
He was a normal person.
Did he ever express remorse?
I wouldn't view it as remorse. I view it more as after the incident occurs, he realized he's in trouble. So I think it was more concern that he has to be tried in an American court, not in his homeland.
Is there a reluctance to call a murder an honor killing?
Traditionally, law enforcement's reluctant to label anything. And there's reasons for that, because you investigate every crime based on the facts of that specific crime. So I'll be candid with you. This is an honor killing because the perpetrator said it was.
He described her as a bad Muslim girl and that he did not approve of her clothing. And that's a statement he gave to police.
Yes.
But whatever Wahid told investigators, Miriam, a devoted Muslim, believes what happened to her had nothing to do with Islam.
This is from the police report. The reason he's giving is that you were a bad Muslim girl.
First of all, he does not know what Islam is all about. So to cover his back, he used Islam as an excuse. Everybody has twisted religion with culture.
She's making a point you've heard this hour, that although honor killings throughout the world are almost exclusively committed by Muslims, Islam has nothing to do with it. But Phyllis Chesler is one of a group of increasingly vocal commentators who say that notion is not only wrong, but dangerous.
This is a Muslim crime.
Chesler lived in Afghanistan when she was married to an Afghani Muslim. She is a professor of psychology and author of 13 books on feminism, religion, and culture.
There's a very evolved political correctness going around in the world that does not want to say Muslims in any way are bad because they're afraid that this will make them racists. And being seen as a racist is the very worst thing these days. It's a parallel to 15 of the 19 Saudis who hijacked the planes and flew them on 9/11 into the building weren't real Muslims or weren't good Muslims.
But not all Muslims are terrorists, not all Muslims engage in honor killings. Are we looking at a small minority here of people who actually engage in this kind of thing?
I hope we are, but you only have to kill 50,000 women every decade, or 100,000, to keep most of the women cautious and submissive.
Why is it on the rise now?
Because jihad is on the rise, and part of what jihad is about is totalitarianism and the subordination of women. If the Muslims who are terrorists hate the West, the symbol of the West that they most love to hate is the emancipation of women, is women's freedom here.
Protecting the freedom of women, that's what Miriam wants to work on if she ever gets to the UN. And paradoxically, she thinks that surviving the horrible crime she suffered was a step in that direction.
Now I know that I don't have anybody controlling me anymore.
So this incident basically freed you?
Oh my God, definitely. And I'm not going to let anybody, do anything like that to me ever again.
Coming up, police say a man shoots his daughters 11 times while 911 listens in. How did he vanish into thin air? Well, earlier this hour, we told you of a horrific double murder. Two teenage sisters, Amina and Sarah Saeed, shot 11 times while 911 dispatchers listened in. Police say their father, Yasser, killed them in the back of a borrowed cab that he ditched at the taxi stand of a Dallas area hotel, and then he disappeared. But to where? Here again is Greg Jarrett.
Yasser Saeed has just basically vanished. We've gotten no phone calls, no tips.
If Texas police are stymied, the girls' American relatives are trying to generate tips on their own.
This is a picture of their dad. If you see him, please call the police.
They've even hired a sketch artist to help them make flyers showing what Yasser might look like in disguise. Meanwhile, the girl's mother, Tissy, moved in briefly with her husband's brother. She has not spoken publicly. Their son, Islam, the girl's brother, staunchly defends his father on his MySpace page, along with the words, F Americans, all of them. And in public, he's claimed his sisters were killed by Mexican gangs, and that his father fled out of fear of getting framed for those murders. But Joyce Boucher, his American great aunt, says Islam told her his sisters got what was coming to them.
He kept talking about if the boyfriends had left them alone. He said the girls got what they deserved because they knew the rules.
Have you learned that the father said that his honor had been shamed?
There's a lot of points to this case that we're not going to go into.
But if it's based on culture, you might be looking, therefore, to friends who shared his culture.
And you think we're not looking into the culture, and we're not, I don't understand where you're coming from. That's why I'm trying to explain to you that we understand and we're very well aware of possibilities and speculations.
But the girls' aunts think there is only one possibility, that this was an honor killing. And after 7 months without an arrest, they worry that the failure of police to call this crime what it is may mean cops are not doing all it takes to find. Dr. Phyllis Chesler, who has written about the case, says anyone investigating honor killings must recognize these are not typical acts of domestic violence.
An honor killing is not the same exactly as what we know of as domestic violence. An honor killing is planned, it's premeditated.
And there are often accomplices, even family members, to help with the planning, the actual killing, or the getaway.
So that often the perpetrators will be back on planes to the old country before the body has been discovered.
The hotel where the bodies of the Saeed sisters were dumped is at most 8 minutes from Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. But it would seem that Yasser Saeed, if he committed the murders, would have needed an accomplice to get him there, and people willing to help him once he got to wherever he was going.
One obvious possibility is that Yasser Saeed went back to Egypt. We have been able to confirm with Egyptian police he has not re-entered the country, at least not under his own name, which admittedly doesn't say very much. Another possibility is that he is right here in Westchester County, New York. Yasser's brother Yassine lives here now, and in fact, he's just across the street. The girl's American family claim that Islam, Yasser's son and chief defender, has made several trips here since his sisters were murdered. Are you Yassim Saeed?
It's none of your business. I want you out of this property now.
May I speak with you on camera?
And I hate Fox News, you racist motherfucker. Get the out of this property now. You motherfucker.
Do you know where your brother is?
Get the out of here.
Is it possible that Yasser Saeed could be in New York driving a taxi?
It's possible he could be in the next room, and we're not aware of it.
Is there any doubt in your mind that these were honor killings?
None at all.
No doubt in my mind. None whatsoever.
They long feared Yasser Saeed might commit such a crime and believe he did. That clearly torments Sarah and Amina's aunts. What if the killer gets away with it? That's a thought they simply cannot bear.
I hope Yasser is caught in America. I hope that the judge who tries him does not Mickey Mouse around with the laws. I hope that when they put that needle in his arm, the girls truly rest in peace. And I hope the world realizes that women are safer, young girls are safer, and that he cannot kill any more women just simply because in his mind we're less than a dog.
8 years ago, the United Nations was confronted with its own research showing that thousands of Muslim women are murdered in honor killings every year. The UN's response? A watered-down resolution condemning honor killings. Even then, 22 Muslim countries did not vote for the resolution. They include Pakistan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Iran, among others. Today, countries like Syria and Jordan give slap-on-the-wrist punishments to men who kill in the name of honor. Muslim leaders say honor killing is not condoned by Islam, but still, you've seen Muslim men commit these crimes in the name of their faith. Perhaps the first step in stopping these honor killings is to quit honoring them. For every group or regime associated, fairly or unfairly, with the practice, to make clear that honor killings are a despicable oxymoron. Only when that happens will this practice end. That's our program. For more, log on to foxnews.com. And you can send me an email with your thoughts on this. The address is fncspecials@foxnews.com. I'm Megyn Kelly. Thanks for watching.